Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 26 female, had a tense relationship with my family some time back, but recently, things are spiraling out of control again. So let me tell you about my cousin, 23 female. Let's call her Sis. She is my mom's sister's child. Her dad went to jail for a serious offense, and her mom, not wanting anything to do with her, left her for a new guy. She was only 12 when her family fell apart, and that's when my parents decided to adopt her. From the moment she came into our home, my life turned upside down. My parents sent her to the same school as me because they wanted me to look out for her. But how could I protect someone who always starts fights? She constantly offended her classmates, and when she was about to be punished, I was always called because I was her big sister. It was always about my sister beating someone up or stealing someone's stuff. This strained my relationship with my friends and teachers. Since my parents were always busy, they never showed up for these minor issues. One time she even ruined a classmate's cardigan, and I had to compensate for it with my own new one that I received as a school souvenir. When I told my parents about it, they simply brushed it off, saying it was okay because I was a big sister. It felt like they never actually cared about me. Their focus was solely on her, using a family situation as an excuse. They were literally making her feel at home at the cost of my happiness. Fast forward to when I turned 20, she took things to the extreme. My parents asked me to find other lodgings because she claimed her mental health was deteriorating because I was in college and she couldn't get into one. It was devastating to be kicked out of my own home because of her. I voiced out my discontent, but they just wouldn't listen. So I had to stay in the dorms throughout my time in college. Though I was living 20 minutes from home, and gradually I became estranged from my biological parents. They rarely called to check on me and didn't care about how I was surviving on campus. I once asked them to buy a laptop for me to complete my final year project. But guess what? They told me the money they had was used to fund my cousin's college entrance. That was already her second attempt at the exams. Now here's the deal. Sis, who is now 23 years old, still lives with my parents. However, due to my parents' declining health, they are planning to move to a village for the elderly. To afford the village, they plan on selling their house and cars, but the only problem is Sis. Sis can't afford to pay rent if she moved out because she isn't working, claiming it interferes with college. So my parents decided that she should move in with me, and they had the courtesy of announcing it to me a full 15 minutes before they sent the movers over to my apartment with Sis's things. I was completely caught off guard by their actions. To make matters worse, they had the audacity to call me and ask me to pay for the movers. According to their logic, they had fulfilled their responsibility, and now it was my turn to rise up to the occasion until she got up on her feet. I couldn't accept their idea at all. I immediately asked the movers to return the belongings to their original destination, claiming I didn't want them. Considering that I'm not yet financially stable as I just graduated from college and started working, taking on the responsibility of caring for Sis and covering all the expenses would place an overwhelming burden on me, especially considering everything I've already endured because of her. My parents called me again this afternoon, but I stood my ground and made my decision clear to them. If they could easily kick me out for her, then they had no right to ask me to take her in. There was no way I was going to let my cousin move in with me under any circumstances. Now they all think I'm an a-hole and being unreasonable for refusing to take her in. So Reddit, I'm seeking your honest judgment. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take in my cousin after my parents kicked me out for her? Update. A few days ago, Sis came over to my place. She didn't come to express any remorse. Instead, she wanted to reason with me, to convince me. She actually had the guts to tell me it was my responsibility to take in. However, I made it clear to her that it doesn't work with me. By the way, I asked her to consider moving in with her mother, who I learned already had 2 children with her new partner. Perhaps she could gain some insight into the feeling of being alienated by your own parents. Thank you all for your support. I truly appreciate it. Your parents suck, OP. I get that they want you to take care of your cousin and make her feel loved and not left out, but they shouldn't have done it at the detriment of your well-being and happiness. Your cousin is an a-hole. She was an a-hole when she was younger and she's still one right now. Stand on your ground and don't give in. Your cousin is an adult now. It's time she starts taking care of herself like one. Story 2. I'm okay with chopsticks. I can eat some food, sushi, chicken, solid food, pretty well, but I've never mastered noodles or more slippery and tricky food. I usually eat out with my roommate and she's never said anything when I ask for a fork. Though I'm usually the only person in the restaurant we go to who uses one. I love udon, but I've never been able to eat it with chopsticks, so I usually use a fork. Yesterday I went with my roommate and another friend to the restaurant and ordered the udon and asked for a fork. After the waiter walked away, my friend said I was embarrassing for asking for a fork and that I shouldn't order something I can't eat with a chopstick provided, and that I'm being rude and privileged, and since I can eat some food with chopsticks, I should have ordered that instead. My roommate disagreed and told her to be quiet, but I felt awkward the entire meal. I am white and growing up we didn't eat much Asian cuisine and nobody in my close family uses chopsticks. Am I the a-hole and being disrespectful, or did my friend make a big deal out of nothing? Not sure if it changes anything, but both roommate and friend are white and both are good with chopsticks. Not the a-hole OP. The point of food is to eat it. Your roommate is way more reasonable than your friend. Unless someone is a pretentious snob, then it doesn't really matter how it is consumed. It would be more insulting to the restaurant if you were to send back a nearly untouched meal because you weren't capable of eating it. Your friend needs to get over themselves. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Your roommate doesn't know what she's talking about and sounds kind of stuck up and snobbish. There's nothing disrespectful about asking for a fork, so you don't end up wearing your food instead of eating it. I've never gotten the hang of chopsticks and I've lived in Asia. They have no issue if you need to request a fork or spoon. Not the a-hole. They're truly making a big deal out of nothing. These kinds of restaurants are prepared for people who don't know how to use chopsticks for everything and they don't expect you to. You should order what you want and eat it however you want. Besides, eating udon with chopsticks is a hassle, I must agree. I have yet to master that as well. Not the a-hole. It's a freaking utensil. The owners have seen it all, I'm sure. Look, chopsticks are hard if you don't use them all the time and didn't grow up with them. It takes effort to learn how to use them well and how to use them with different sorts of noodles, and you could endeavor to do that. I did and it was worth it, but you're not an a-hole for using a fork and your friend is overreaching. Story 3. My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years. We both work and we split chores and cooking 50-50. In my family, none of the men cook. Now I actually don't see anything wrong with that because none of the women work. I want to be very clear. I believe being a stay-at-home mom is a job. But that is not what we are talking about here. My mom hasn't worked since she met my stepdad when she was 23. She has always been a housekeeper, so really all she does is cook. I know how my mom spends her days and it is a lot of tennis, yoga and brunch with friends. So personally, it doesn't bother me that my stepdad doesn't cook. My aunt had 3 kids, but she kind of refused to raise them, so I don't even consider her a stay-at-home mom. My mom actually was a good hands-on mom. My aunt also had a housekeeper on top of a nanny doing most of the parenting, but she did make my uncle 3 meals a day and was the type of wife who would bring him a muffin at the office or some shit. My aunt is also vain as hell and spends 50% of her time getting her hair done or going to the spa. My girlfriend mentioned to me a year ago that the women do all the work when we have family gatherings. I said my mom really likes to cook, and to be fair, she doesn't do all the work because we all know she isn't cleaning up when we go home. My girlfriend kind of agreed, but said it still seems weird to her that my mom actually packs my stepdad's lunch for work, and she didn't know people still did that. We also talked a bit about relationship dynamics and how both of those marriages are too codependent for our liking, and how when we have kids, they will come first. This year it is our year to spend Christmas with my family. Also, to be clear, my girlfriend has never been asked to help in the kitchen. It is usually just my mom and aunt in the kitchen and sometimes my oldest cousin. I went in there once to get something for my girlfriend and they were talking about sex, so I dipped right back out. My girlfriend asked if I could talk to my family about the sexism because it makes her uncomfortable. I said that I didn't think I had the right because they have never asked her for help. So it really isn't our business. She brought up that if we have kids in the future, she would be uncomfortable with them witnessing it. I ended up saying that I don't think it is sexist. While I totally agree labor division is often sexist and unfair, in this case, cooking is literally all they do. Neither of them have ever wanted to work. My aunt blows through money like crazy, and my mom heavily sleeps until 10 and pursues hobbies all day. So it seems like a fair trade-off. My girlfriend got mad and said I'm missing her point, and that she hates being around them and I'm not doing anything to make it less awkward. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. This isn't sexism. Your family likes this arrangement and it works for them. It would be a problem if they expected you and your girlfriend to have the same arrangement, but there's no indication of that. Your girlfriend needs to learn that feminism means supporting women in pursuing what they want in their relationships and careers, including supporting women who are happy not working and cooking all the meals for their families. Not the a-hole. This shit is all about choice. You two have decided to be more equal. Awesome. My marriage is like that too. Your family has every right to choose to follow more traditional roles as well. If it works for them, awesome. Your girlfriend has no right to judge them for it, and talking to them about it like she knows better what works for them is incredibly insulting. She needs to think about this like pro-choice. It's still a choice and no one is insisting people get abortions just because they're pro-choice. It's every person's own damn choice. I work full-time and so does my husband. When I'm throwing a holiday party, sometimes having him or anyone else in the kitchen can be as much of a hindrance as a help. I actually prefer one of us to do all the cooking so we aren't in each other's way and trying to figure out who gets the oven when. If he's trying to help me, then I have to give directions and aren't focused enough on what I'm trying to do. Or he figures it out on his own and isn't quite how I wanted it. I would so much rather just do it myself. If someone tried to guilt force my husband or anyone else to help me out, I would be mad. I've got the situation under control, but your butt out.